Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Friday, and as always on a Friday, our guests are brought to you by Langley Chrysler. That includes Thomas Drance standing by. Don't miss the game because your car needs servicing. Langley Chrysler will pick up service. They'll pick it up. Can you believe that? Service and drop off your car so you don't have to miss the action. Valet service only at langleychrysler.com. Canucks defeat the Islanders 4-3 in Elmont, New York. I keep saying that name. It just seems so strange that Belmont is in Elmont. I'll get over it. Don't worry about it. Canucks in Toronto tomorrow. Joining us now from The Athletic, Thomas Drance, is always on a Friday. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Hello, gentlemen, and goodbye to all of your viewers who change the channel when I come on.
No. They love you. They love you. Viewership only goes up on a Friday, Thomas. Hey, a couple of comebacks last night by the Canucks. What did this team show you last night?
What I liked about the game is that it was one of those games you really have to work in. And I feel like those are the sorts of games that this team hasn't won a ton of over the course of this season. Obviously, we saw that early, but even more recently, I think the games have either been lopsided one way or the other, right? If it's a track meet game, this team's eyes feel like they get wide and excited. And when it's one of those ugly, lots of point shots, really a grinding, scraping affair, I feel like this team's come out on the wrong end more often than not since the calendar flipped to 2022. Last night, they were full value. They controlled play. They turned it up in the second period. Their forecheck began to get to the Islanders. For me, that flipped the game. And then, obviously, you love to see Niels Höglander bump the slump and Vasily Podkolzin end it off of a beautiful feed from the much maligned Bo Horvat. So, I mean, I thought it was a really good team effort. I thought it was a hard game. I thought it was an ugly game. And I give them full credit for finding a way to get 2 points out of it. 2 points that they really needed to have.
You mentioned the much maligned Bo Horvat, and Rick went through the list of the usual suspects, Canucks players that may or may not get traded before the trade deadline. We didn't mention Bo Horvat. A lot of people in our Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox did. Why is that the situation with Bo Horvat? Why is the opinion changed on the captain?
Within this market, I think what happens is when people are frustrated about a team's performance, I do think that oftentimes you look to the top, and we've seen sort of a rotating cast of non-JT Miller star players and non-Thatcher Demko category too, sort of go through their own period of being, criticized pretty thoroughly in this marketplace. Early in the season, it was Pettersson and Boeser.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw Quinn Hughes get a fair bit of it last season. You know what? We saw JT Miller get a fair bit of it last season, too, for some of the lackadaisical passing and touches. And then, of late, it's sort of centered on Bo Horvat. I don't know that he's had his best season. His counting stats have been down. There's a lot of percentage noise in that. I think he's played pretty well. But, he's not a perfect player. He's not a first-line 80-point center, but he's a workhorse second-line center who gives you 60 points a season. I'm still baffled that he hasn't found a way to be at least an average penalty-killing option for them, particularly considering how good he is in the face-off circle. I do think there's, a game within a game aspect to being a captain that I'd love to see Bo Horvat and I know I'm going to sound like a dinosaur here, but I'd love to see Bo Horvat just, once every 10 games, just like absolutely run a guy through the glass, because with his frame, he could do it. And I feel like if he did it a couple of times a season, he'd always have the puck because no one would want him to be without it when they were on the ice with him. So, there's some things that you can point to and say, maybe you'd like to see more of that from Horvat. But when you consider what he accomplishes, when you consider what he does, when you consider that he can do it regardless of who his line mates are or who he's facing on a night-to-night basis, he's a really, really good player, and I think a lot of the criticism's been a little overwrought in this market.
Any idea what that goal's going to do? You touched on it earlier. Any idea what that goal's going to do for Niels Höglander?
Well, Niels Höglander is, it's easy to forget that Niels Höglander, only JT Miller has scored more points at 5-on-5 since Niels Höglander joined this organization at the start of the 2021 season. Like 5-on-5 offense, he's driven it for this team. He's actually their leading 5-on-5 goal scorer since joining this club, with 20 goals now at 5-on-5 in 110 or so games. And that's number one on this team. This team, one of their biggest issues is a lack of 5-on-5 offense. This is a guy that at 21 already drives it. To me, he's part of the solution here, clearly, and I suspect we'll see him play in a way that more closely matches what we saw from him last season over the balance of this year than what we saw over the past 20 games. He's a really good player.
Okay, Thomas, 17 days to the trading deadline. With all the information you've gathered, what is your breakdown on who's most likely? Because we're getting down there. It's just a little over 2 weeks. Yeah, we are. And they're going to make decisions here soon. Most likely candidates to move in your eyes, Thomas?
Well, I think you have to start with Tyler Mott, as you and I reported this morning, Rick, at The Athletic. And I'm sorry, Donnie, for stealing one of Rick's 2 scoops. Yeah. We split the bowl of Raisin Bran this morning, Donnie.
Exactly.
So Tyler Mott, quiet in terms of extension talks. That speaks volumes, right? I mean, I don't think this team's in a position where they can overpay for a guy, even a really good person and player who's a perfect fit on the bottom 6. I don't think there's an appetite to sign the sort of extension that Mott would demand and will be able to command should he hit the open market this summer. They're not going to lose him for nothing. To me, the way that that's trending, and again, you always have to be careful, 17 days out from the deadline, right? It just takes one call to change everything.
That's it.
But Mott is trending to me to be the most likely player to move. I don't think that's a huge surprise. He's the only player who is a UFA, like a notable UFA for this team. So he's the only sort of pressure point that they're really facing here. To me, he's the most likely. I think number 2, you probably have to say it's Yaroslav Halak. I know that deal's complicated. He's got the no move clause. We have to be very careful in talking about it because at the end of the day, it's not, you can say, oh, he's a guy is willing to waive or what have you, but until he actually presses send on the deal, you don't really know, right? It could, it could come down to, oh, I don't like that place, or, oh, I don't think they really have a chance, or I'm not going to get to play enough there. Like, he has control of this situation. So it's a very unpredictable, a volatile situation to handicap, a volatile situation for Jim Rutherford to navigate. He certainly hasn't helped the Canucks by performing the way he has the last 2 games, although he was excellent before that. We'll see where that one goes, but that's definitely a situation to monitor. And then, I don't know that it's getting as much attention as some of the other things we noted in the article, Rick. But for me, one of the things that I was heartened, impressed to learn as we worked through this piece over the course of this week, like, this team's needs, they're so clear-eyed. This new management group is so clear-eyed about what this team's needs are that I think the idea of going through the deadline, having offloaded the Halak bonus liability and sold expiring contract like Mott, I don't think they'll be satisfied with that. Like, I think the Canucks want to be more active. They want to find a way to be more active than that. They understand that they need to clear the decks. They need to send out more cap commitments for next season if they're going to be able to do the things that need to be done this offseason and beyond to get this club to where they want to go.
Hey, Thomas, it's clear that Bruce Boudreau, and he clearly has a soft spot for players that have bounced around in the NHL, have spent time in the minors. He has a soft spot for Brad Hunt. Brad Hunt, in his post-game interview, gave a lot of the credit for what he's been doing lately to Brad Shaw, holdover from the Travis Green coaching staff. What does Brad Shaw mean to this team?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's meant a lot more since the coaching change, right? He's been significantly more empowered in the Boudreau era. He's taken over running the PK of late, and obviously he's run the defense. It's one of those where I'd probably have a better sense of it if I was in the room talking to guys day to day. But Brad Shaw's got a lengthy resume of having worked very well with defensemen. Clearly very bright, clearly very involved at practice, right? He often runs drills. Bruce Boudreau will often step aside or even just watch from the bench as Bradshaw runs a drill or even a large portion of practice. So he's clearly become a pretty big voice within that staff, within Boudreau's staff. And, it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves, because one thing, gentlemen, that I think we're seeing that's worth noting, and there's two sort of trends that I'm watching for with the Canucks and that have sort of kept me concerned, even as the club has kept picking up wins. One is we're beginning to see the club bleed scoring chances against on a regular basis. Like, win or lose, we're seeing this team give up a ton of great A's. You think about New Jersey, you think about New York Rangers, you think even about the first period against Calgary, right? There was a lot of breakaways, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of really quality chances against that the Canucks are surrendering. I think that's something they're going to have to arrest, both against Toronto on Saturday and when they get home, if they're going to keep this miracle push rolling. And then the other one is the breakouts. I think this team is really struggling to break out. I know Bruce Boudreau praised their breakouts while handing out the belt in the video that the Canucks posted yesterday. But to me, if a coach is being like, you guys did a good job and I'm watching the game thinking that's a problem, that means he was talking about it a ton pregame and he wants to be like, hey, good job, guys. Like, we took care of business there. That's one area of the game, perhaps unnoticed, where I actually think the form has begun to fall off a bit, even from earlier in the season. I'm really worried about this team's ability to transition and find solutions when their forecheck's not working.
Keeping in mind that, and I know this from being involved in minor hockey, there isn't a team on the planet that doesn't have problems breaking out with the puck, but the Canucks maybe more so. Thomas, always great. By the way, we have so much love for you and our Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Dahlia Wall was ripping into you earlier.
Oh, I was.
Unsigned, Thomas Drance is the best weekly guest. Let him talk as long as he wants. There you go.
As long as he wants. Remember that, Rick. Rick said he was going to play me off with
hold
Oscar
it a
music
second.
if I went on a 5-minute answer. So as long as he wants, Rick.
Back it up.
Give the audience what they want, baby.
I got another person calling you a Debbie Downer in our Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Quit being a Debbie Downer.
I'm not going to stop that. Cheers, boys. Have a good weekend.